In this video, I want to talk about how to truly captivate a woman's mind and attention and to get her to think about you and to never forget you, to always wonder about you, to always prioritize you. But how do you get to that state in the first place? Well, everything happens in the mind. Sex happens in the mind. Love happens in the mind. Fantasies happen in the mind. Obsession happens in the mind. Everything happens in the mind. And so the mind is where you want to put your attention. A woman's mind is what you need to conquer. You need to conquer her mind if you want to get her to become obsessed with you, if you want to get her to focus on you, if you want to get her to think about you and to want you and to desire you. You want to burn yourself into a woman's memory, and to do that you've got to burn yourself into a woman's hippocampus. This is a region in the brain which is responsible for memories. Memories are formed most powerfully through emotion, and if there is a simultaneous activation of the amygdala, which is the lizard brain inside everyone's mind, that little small reptilian part of the brain which is responsible for fear, it's responsible for the flight or fight response, it's responsible for the release of adrenaline. Now, if you can activate the amygdala and the hippocampus, the region of the brain responsible for memory, then you're going to have a very powerful impact. You're going to make a very powerful impact on a woman. If you are one of those men, 99% of men who are forgettable, you're nice, you're polite, you're kind, and perhaps you're just in the background, or perhaps your interactions with a woman are very civilized and they're very polite and they don't go below the surface, you're not going to activate any regions in the brain which are responsible for emotion, particularly the amygdala. And if you want to get a strong reaction out of a woman, if you want her to remember you, you have to activate the emotional part of her brain, most effectively the hippocampus and the amygdala. And to do that, you have to make an impact. To make an impact, you have to either make a move, you have to make her remember you in some way. Right, so the conversation has to be interesting, or the conversation has to be memorable. Perhaps you're willing to go to places that most people don't when it comes to conversation. Perhaps you say things which are borderline offensive, but not too offensive, but enough for her to remember you by. Perhaps you are willing to make eye contact with her long enough so that your image is burnt into her memory. Or perhaps you make a move and you flirt with her and you touch her intermittently, which I talk about in my book, Atomic Attraction, which will increase your chances of becoming physical with a woman by around 60 to 70%. Now, anytime you do that, you're activating emotions, and emotions create the most powerful memories. I remember one time my friend asked me to hook him up with a girl that I knew, and he'd met before at a house party. And when I told the girl about this guy, I said, my friend, he really liked you and he wants your number. And she said, which one is that? And I said, oh, that guy, Dave, you were talking to him at the party the other night. And she said, oh, I don't remember. I can't remember him at all. And that is because obviously he didn't make an impact. He didn't say anything which was gonna make an impact on her. He didn't say anything memorable. He didn't do anything memorable. He didn't make a move. He didn't activate the emotions inside her mind. So she had no clear memory or picture of him. And so she said, well, I don't really know who it is, but if I see him again, maybe I can talk to him. I also remember another situation, another party I was at, where this guy, Louis, another friend of mine, was talking to this woman. They were sitting on the couch, and he had his arm around her and he was talking, and she was yawning and she looked bored, and this other guy came along and he said, let me show you something. And he took the girl into the bedroom, showed her something in the bedroom. I don't know, maybe he unzipped his pants, and he closed the door, and 5 minutes later they were having sex. And this guy Louis was banging on the door. What's going on? What are you doing in there? Well, he had his time. He had an hour to talk to this girl. She got bored, and she was quite happy to leave him for another guy who was willing to give her what she wanted. Now, this guy made an impact. He got in there first. He made an impact. And who do you think the next day the woman is going to think about? It's going to be the guy that took her into the bedroom. It's not going to be poor Louis, who was sitting on the couch talking about his work and why he really liked it and how he was lucky to get this new job. She wasn't interested in that. So if you really want to get a woman to think about you and to want you, you have to activate her emotions so that she remembers you. I talk about this in great detail in my book, Atomic Attraction. It's based on over 120 scientific studies and 40 real-life case studies. You can pick up your copy today by clicking on the link below. And don't forget, I do phone and email consultations. You can book a consultation with me on my website, developattraction.com.